So our goal is to show that this thing here is a parallelogram. And one of the ways to show that something is a parallelogram is to prove that both sets of opposite sides are congruent. So that's what we're going to do. That's our goal. And we're going to do that by proving triangles are congruent. If I can prove this triangle and this triangle, these lightly shaded triangles are congruent, then I'll know that their corresponding sides are congruent, particularly these sides there. That's one set of opposite sides of that parallelogram. And I'll do the same thing for this set, this darker shaded set of triangles. I'll prove they're congruent, and therefore their corresponding parts, in particular these sides, are congruent. So to prove these triangles are congruent, they kind of follow the same steps. So the top step in every one is for like these lighter shaded ones, and then the bottom step is for the darker shaded ones. So I know because it's a parallelogram, I'm given that this whole big thing is a parallelogram. I know its opposite sides are congruent. So I know AD is congruent to BC for these two lighter guys. AD and BC, and then AB and CD for this guy. Now I want to talk about these angles. I went ahead and labeled them 1, 2, 3, and 4 so that they're easier to talk about instead of trying to call it A, D, F, blech, just a big mess. So go ahead and label them if you'd like. So I can say that first I have to say that the opposite sides are parallel before I can talk about alternate interior angles. So since it's a parallelogram, then opposite sides are parallel. And now that I know that this side is parallel to this side, I know that angle 1 is congruent to angle 2, because if parallel lines are cut by a transversal, alternate interior angles are congruent. Sorry about my shorthand, I just had to write a bunch of these in a row. So, and because I know this is parallel to this, I know 3 alternate interior angles 3 and 4 are congruent. So now I know enough to prove that these two triangles are congruent because I had the sides and then the angles and then the given sides. And then I know that these two darker ones are congruent because of the sides, the angles, and the given sides. And then I have, so I know the triangles are congruent, therefore I can know all their corresponding parts must be congruent. In particular, I pluck out this side congruent to that side, and this side congruent to that side by CPCTC. Corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. And then I know that this must be a parallelogram. That's my lovely parallelogram, because if both sets of opposite sides are congruent, a quadrilateral must be a parallelogram.